Morning Marianas. I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Danielle Baza.
With big smiles on our face, it's 6:20 a.m. on this beautiful Monday morning. It is the 12th of September, 2022, and the weather is supposed to be a little shaky today. A little.
Yeah.
I'm just assuming it's going to be hot. I'm just assuming.
I've been melting this whole week.
I know, and you know what?
Defrosting.
Unfortunately, in our family, melting from sweat does not equal the melting of fat. But you know, that's neither here nor there. Speaking of fat, I've already given up on the whole like I'm gonna have a 6-pack of abs anytime in the rest of my lifetime, which is not gonna. I'm 42 years old, so it's not gonna be like. I'm 42 years old and a former drug user, so my lifespan's not gonna be that much longer. So I do have baked shoe pal.
I know.
From 76
so
that I'm going to chow on this show.
It's like soft on the inside, but it's got a crispy outside. I really like it.
When we come back, we'll bring you the top headlines, which include the latest on the body that was found in Dededo this weekend, controversies in the Attorney General race on Guam, some great news in the Commonwealth regarding health, and there you go. Those are our top headlines. When we come back from these commercial messages, stick with us.
I feel that this environment is for anybody that wants to try something new, whether it is CrossFit or powerlifting. We offer a safe space for someone who's never been athletically inclined to try something that they've never done before.
Wait, to go to the White Shop for a second. We were just having an in-studio conversation with Johnny Rosario and with Isaac Nirababul, our producer here, about did you see the Ken Leon Guerrero video about the restrooms at EPAL Park?
Yeah.
And how they're closed. And sorry for going off script here, but the conversation's right. So Ken he points out that the administration has closed restrooms. And I was telling Johnny, I was like, this is actually not something that
New?
It's not something new. It's not the Leon Guerrero administration that started locking the public bathrooms. It started in the Calvo administration. And I remember this because I remember that I was upset about it. I was like, why do we have public restrooms and we're locking them? And the excuse was, or the reasoning was that people keep messing up the bathroom. It keeps getting dirty. And I was like, well, isn't this the whole reason people pay taxes, so that we have workers or we have contracts where they're cleaned up? Like, the whole purpose of public restrooms at public parks is so the public can use them. And it isn't just the Leon Guerrero administration. This actually started in the Calvo administration. Anyway, moving on to our headlines. Welcome back. Foul play has not been ruled out, nor was it evident to investigators that homicide led to the death of a man found in the jungle located in Quetzaltenango, Deredo, Saturday morning. That is according to a news release issued by the Guam Police Department last night. According to the release, the man has yet to be identified, and the investigation remains open and with GPD's Criminal Investigations Section. CIS awaits findings from the medical examiner.
A federal jury found John Walker, the president of multi-million-dollar multinational company Hanson Helicopters, guilty of more than 100 counts of federal crimes ranging from the use of unlicensed and uncertified pilots to wire fraud and money laundering. He faces a sentencing of hundreds of years in total, and his case precedes that of his former co-defendant, Rufus Crowe. The case, the largest criminal trial in the U.S. District Court of Guam in recent history, has been ongoing for years, with the trial itself taking months to complete. Lawyers representing the Federal Aviation Administration accused the company's executives of defrauding the government and the company's employees and customers over years by salvaging old aircraft and manufacturing credentials to use those helicopters illegally. The executives also are accused of knowingly placing their pilots and employees in danger because of alleged misconduct. One employee died during a mission in the Pacific when an aircraft crashed. The trial for Mr. Crowe can now commence with the Walker trial at an end.
Former Attorney General Doug Moylan, a candidate for the position in the upcoming general election, released screenshots of alleged text messages from a would-be opponent, Attorney Peter Santos. The text messages appear to show Mr. Santos claiming that both the Leon Guerrero and the Camacho gubernatorial campaigns reached out to Santos, upset about his write-in campaign for Attorney General because they assume Santos will spoil the election against Levin Camacho, the incumbent. Among the messages, Santos allegedly wrote to Moylan, quote, "Representatives from both gubernatorial camps contacted me and asked me to lay off of Levin. They don't want you to win, and they are going to do everything in their power to make sure Levin wins. I felt like I had to jump in order to try and take the guaranteed win from Levin," end quote. Kandit this morning reached out to the managers of both the Lou and Josh and the Camacho Added campaigns for comment, but received no reply as of press time.
In related news, Dr. Ron McNinch believes the law is clear and that the Guam Election Commission cannot allow a write-in candidacy for the race for Attorney General of Guam. Dr. McNinch said, "In my opinion, a person can run as a write-in candidate at the primary election for AG, but if two candidates are certified at the primary election, no write-ins should be allowed. Only two candidates are allowed on the general election ballot for AG. Having a write-in line creates a third candidate line and negates the intent of the legislature to ensure a majority at the general election for the AG. On a final note, a person running for the AG position has to be qualified to run for this office. Part of the qualification is finishing first or second in the primary election. Any regular candidate for office has to file all kinds of financial statements and character paperwork like police and court clearances. Treating a person as a legitimate candidate while allowing them the luxury of evading basic election requirements is not healthy for civic relations in our community," end quote.
As the CNMI enters flu season, the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation urges all CNMI residents 6 months and older to get their annual flu vaccine for the 2022-23 season, especially people at higher risk such as pregnant women, children, elderly, and individuals with underlying health conditions. CHCC in a news release wrote, quote, "Influenza or the flu is a potentially serious disease that can lead to hospitalization and even death in rare cases. Every flu season is different and flu affects people differently. Getting an annual flu vaccine is the best way to protect yourself and your loved ones from the flu," end quote. You can get your vaccine at the CHCC Children's Clinic, Women's Clinic, and Family Care Clinic, Medical Associates of the Pacific, Marianas Medical Center, Cagman Isla Community Health Center, Tinian Health Center, Tinian Isla Health Center, and the Rhoda Health Center.
Also in news from the CNMI, the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation recently implanted the first internal heart monitors in the CNMI. The CHCC surgery team successfully implanted 6 implantable loop recorders, a heart monitoring system that records heart rhythm. Quote, "This is a brand new capability for us here in the CNMI," said Dr. David Grauman, chair of the Adult Outpatient Department. Quote, "The implantable loop recorders give vital information for patients with unexplained fainting, strokes, or abnormal heartbeats of uncertain cause," end quote. The procedure takes about 10 minutes, according to a news release from the CHCC, with about another 45 minutes devoted to programming and patient education. The devices allow doctors to diagnose abnormal heart rhythms that may occur infrequently, which may lead to a stroke if not properly treated. Once the device is implanted, it is virtually invisible to the patient. The implantable loop recorders will record and monitor for irregularities of a patient's heart for up to 4 years with no maintenance needed. Dr. Grauman said, "These devices allow us to see a record of the patient's heartbeat, even catching irregularities that a patient may not feel. It is a big leap forward for the residents of the CNMI."
Now, thank you for those stories. Now, when we come back, we'll bring you more information about the Nicholas Moore trial as it enters another day of trial this morning, and a heartbreaking story of accusations against a father and a mother involving the rape of their children. Stick with us when we come back from this break. Welcome back. Today at 9 a.m. In the Superior Court of Guam, we go back to Judge Alberto Tolentino's courtroom where the Nicholas Moore trial starts again. I just wanted to give everyone an update on what's going on. It has been, in later days, it's been a turbulent trial with the finding that the prosecution failed to disclose key evidence in the case, which almost led to a mistrial. Or actually, I don't think the judge has ruled yet on whether there will be a mistrial. He took arguments last week, Friday, and bear with me because I think we have to bifurcate the discussion here. So right now, this story is about an October 15, 2020 shooting of a man named Brian Mendiola in the leg. This has nothing to do, let me just backtrack that. This is not the trial of the murder of Michael Castro, which is a separate incident, and it's going to be a separate trial, which occurred about 2 weeks after the shooting of Brian Mendiola in the leg. There is the allegation that one of the guns allegedly used in the October 15 shooting is the murder weapon in the Michael Castro case. I know, things get a little confusing, right? So I have to explain this well. What has been established in trial so far, and so far it's the prosecution's case in chief. The defense has not presented its case yet, though arguably the defense has really taken over this trial. Like there just appears to be a whole lot of doubt that's been cast over the prosecution's case in this trial regarding who shot Brian Mendiola in the leg. And this is why. Originally, 2 men were charged with the aggravated assault of Brian Mendiola, Nicholas Moore and Eric Salone. Eric Salone is in the Navy. And according to his own testimony, he met Nicholas Moore sometime in 2016 or 2017. They became friends. Nicholas Moore was his drug dealer. He used to take Percocet, Oxy, the downer drugs, the pills that they call them on the street, right?
The zombie drugs.
Is that what they call it, zombie drugs?
It looks like.
Oh.
That's how it looks to me.
And I've seen a couple of people on it.
Right? Like, loving it. Oh my God. You can just jack them.
But it's better than how crackheads look.
At least, bro, if you hit them with a car, they just like bounce back. Like they can live. They're vampires. They don't die. But when you're on pills, it's like
both types of drugs are not good.
Okay,
let's just
bad.
be clear
They're
on that.
Bad.
Both types of drugs are not good for you and not good for society.
I guess I'm a little biased.
Anyway.
I'm sorry.
So what happened was both of these men were charged because both of these men were in a black Ford pickup truck owned by Nicholas Moore, and on that night, and from that pickup truck came at least one gunshot that hit Brian Mendiola in the leg. Now there may be forensic evidence that it wasn't a direct shot to the leg. It may have been a ricochet to the ground. But
wow.
That was only teased in the trial so far by the defense. It hasn't come up yet. They have not brought in the whoever, the medical expert or whatever, right? So far in the trial, Eric Salone, the former co-defendant, has said that both he and Nicholas Moore shot out of the truck, that there were 2 gunshots and 2 guns, and that Eric Salone, according to Salone, was holding a .45 caliber gun, and that Nicholas Moore was holding a .38 caliber gun. And the distinction is important because it was the fragment of a .38 caliber bullet that was removed allegedly from Brian Mendiola's leg. And when I say allegedly, the reason that there's any doubt is because Brian Mendiola, when he went to Naval Hospital that night, refused to have the bullet removed from his leg.
I now remember that part.
And it was the next day when he went to GRMC when he allegedly had the bullet removed from his leg. And when I say allegedly, what I mean by that is because there was an error that occurred at GRMC in the protocols that were there. And for whatever reason, the bullet was not given to GPD after it was removed on October 16. It wasn't actually given to GPD until November 18. And so there's the forensic evidence itself. There's already, like, okay, is this really the right one? And, the questions on why didn't he have the bullet removed immediately when he got care at Naval Hospital, all of that. Add to all this, that the prosecution cannot find its key star witness, Curtis Garrido, who was the person who had the best eyewitness view of the actual shooting and who previously told police that it was the black man, not the white guy. I'm sorry, it was the black guy, not the white boy, who shot Nicholas Moore. There was a warrant issued for his arrest because he didn't. I'm sorry, who shot Brian Mendiola? Thank you, Cello. Who shot Brian Mendiola? And then aside from all of that, so 2 co-defendants, right? 2 men, one of whom is Eric Salone. Eric Salone admits that he was one of the people who shot out of the vehicle. He told investigators that he had the .45 and that Nicholas Moore had the .38, which is a key distinction in the case. And it was because of that testimony that Eric Salone was willing to give that in June of this year, right before the trial was to start, the Attorney General entered into a plea agreement with Eric Salone, which traded his freedom for his testimony against Nicholas Moore. Now Eric Salone has been on the stand for days. He's been cross-examined by David Lujan, Nicholas Moore's attorney. And David Lujan has been ripping apart Eric Salone's credibility. Because he has shown
shredding him,
shredding his credibility. Not only has he shown the jury and used Eric Salone's own words against him as a drug user, as a friend of Nicholas Moore, as a person who benefited from Nicholas Moore's money and his family, etc., but probably the most important thing that David Lujan has done while Eric Salone has been on the stand is shown the jury in videotapes of the questioning that NCIS and Guam Police Department detectives did, the interrogation, of Eric Salone, where he is a completely different person. If you see these videos, he's just laid back like this with his legs spread.
Yeah.
No, but he was more combative. He had a combative stance in his interrogation with these police detectives, very different from the respectful, good-natured man that the jury has seen on the stand for all of these days. Last week, David Lujan plays videos of the interrogation that not only show a different Eric Salone, but also show a different story that Eric Salone told investigators and police in the beginning.
Wow.
And so this story that the defense is trying to paint of, your key witness for the prosecution is a liar. That's essentially what they're saying. And the defense's entire theory of the case is that Nicholas Moore wasn't the actual shooter. It was Eric Salone. And the Attorney General let the wrong man go free. Now, I said we were going to bifurcate this story because this is where it gets different. So that's been the story of the prosecution's case in chief thus far. Now, the reason that there's been a call for a mistrial is because as David Lujan was cross-examining Eric Salone about the .45 caliber gun that was used, he made some statements, and then David Lujan was trying to impeach his credibility, and then Eric Salone says, I didn't say that I did say that to police, but in a subsequent interview, I told the police something else. And that's when David Lujan called for a sidebar. The jury was excused, and then a discussion took place among the attorneys and the judge about how the defense never knew about these subsequent interviews and how the prosecution did not disclose that these interviews took place, where are the videotape recordings of these interviews, where is this picture that Eric Salone points to in the interview, or that the investigator points to Eric Salone in this interview of a gun, how come that picture wasn't disclosed to the defense? And then the following day, I think 2 days later, the picture was finally produced in court. And the defense says, Your Honor, we did not receive this picture. This is, and something that's very telling about this case is Judge Tolentino. He has been, the impartial jurist, the referee, basically, right? Outside the presence of the jury, he applauded David Lujan for doing a good job in his cross-examination and essentially said, do we really need a mistrial because, Mr. Lujan, it looks like you're doing your job.
Yeah.
And you wanted to impeach the witness's testimony, and it seems that it appears that you've done that and more. And so, do you really want to waste this with a mistrial? And so it seems even evident to the judge that the key witness for the prosecution has just been completely impeached in the cross-examination by David Lujan. We'll see. The trial continues this morning at 9 a.m. I think that's what I heard. I didn't check the calendar today. I'm dressed for court. I'm dressed for court. Now there is a way sadder news in the way of our criminal justice system. You sent this last night?
Yes.
When did this magistrates come out?
I think it came out yesterday or the Saturday.
It came out Saturday. Now I haven't fully read. Has it been on any news? No one's covered the story yet. Now there is a couple by the name of Rodney and Geraldine Uggan, according to this magistrate's report, who have been accused. And let's just be clear, as with all magistrates that we read, that these are just accusations, and that these people who have been accused of these crimes have not been convicted, have not been found guilty either by their admission and confession or by a jury of their peers. But if this is true, it's just such a sad story. Didn't we recently? Who was it that was recently convicted of
a little
raping
boy or a little girl?
Raping the stepdaughter. I think it was Dwayne Peters. Dwayne Peters. That's right. Well,
these are their actual daughters.
This one's worse. Can you give us a recap of? Don't read the magistrates yet, but just give us a recap of.
So
what this says.
the two daughters went to the school and said that since they were 4 or 5 years old, they've been raped by their dad, and that the mom has been aware of it.
That's what they told the school.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cops, I think.
How old are these girls?
Well, now I think they're 10 and 12, or
10 and 12. So back
Johnny
when they were
and
4 and 6. So it's been going on for 6 years, allegedly.
Yeah.
And their names are Rodney Martinez Uggan, that's defendant 1, that's the father, and Geraldine Marie Uggan, that's defendant number 2.
Yep, and they admitted it, and they both admitted it in their statements, the parents.
According to what the Attorney General said.
Yeah.
According to the Attorney General, they confessed it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, you know what? This is going to be
cases like these.
Danielle's going to produce this story this morning, and Johnny and Danielle, this is going to be their top story in the Daily Crime Report this afternoon. So stick with us, and we'll provide you their mugshots, and they'll read you this very sad magistrate's report from the Attorney General's office.
Yeah.
I'm sorry? The magistrates? You got pictures of the magistrates? Oh, yeah. How old are they?
Born in 2010. And 2012.
No. The couple
Born in 1982.
They're just 2 years younger than us.
Yep. This is so sick.
First-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony. That's the worst, right? Yeah. That's the worst type of rape. That's the worst type of CSC. 2 counts. 2 counts of first-degree, second-degree criminal sexual conduct. I'm sorry. 2 counts of second-degree criminal sexual conduct as a first-degree felony, and 2 counts of child abuse as a misdemeanor. I think the child abuse charge is against the mother, and the 2 rape counts are against the father.
I can't believe it's a misdemeanor.
So sad.
I don't understand.
All right.
You can get these stories and more on CandidNews.com.
Yeah, and stay tuned this morning for the story by Danielle Baza about this case. Now we ask that you join us in turning our attention to 93.3 FM The Point. That's the Ray Gibson Show. It's the only morning talk show of any significance or consequence on Guam. Every morning from Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. And again this afternoon, the most educational talk show in the Marianas, Tall Tales by Bob Klitsky and Jose Martinez from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. both on the radio dial 93.3 FM. And then, or you can join us on Facebook Live at The Point Guam, or even on YouTube Live on the Ray Gibson Show. For Kandit News, I'm Troy Torres.
And I'm Danielle Baza.
Good morning, Marianas.
The Jones Act is a 1920 law justified on national security grounds as a means to bolster the U.S. maritime industry. It restricts domestic shipping to vessels that are U.S. built, U.S. owned, U.S. flagged, and U.S. crewed. However, this law boosts cost by banning foreigners from competing and forcing Americans to purchase ships that are up to 8 times more expensive than those built in other countries. The result is higher transportation costs. Shipping oil from Texas to the Northeast, for example, costs 3 times more than importing oil from Africa. Ultimately, consumers foot the bill. In addition, higher shipping costs push freight from ships onto other sources of transportation, such as trucks, which means more traffic and pollution. Meanwhile, this blatant protectionism has failed to benefit builders of ships in the U.S., whose production is less than 1% of those in China and South Korea. Domestic builders have seen over 300 shipyards close since the early 1980s. Jones Act defenders claim the law ensures adequate U.S. ships during times of war, but during U.S. deployments during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm, foreign flagged commercial ships carried twice as much equipment as their U.S. counterparts. In fact, the U.S. was so desperate for shipping that it twice requested the use of a cargo ship from Moscow. Both requests were denied. So the Jones Act has failed to achieve its shipbuilding and national security goals while driving up costs for consumers. It's time for this outdated, costly, and ineffective law to be repealed. It's time to end the Jones Act.